Calling the Boston Globe managing editor, Christine Chinlund. It's June 8th, Thursday, June 8th of 2017. Hello, it's Christine. Hello, yes. Yeah, it's Rob and Edgar calling from Montreal. Hello. It's the matter of the Unitarian Universalist Association hiring a Canadian lawyer to falsely accuse me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel and illegal bullying that seeks to conceal such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. That's his words, not mine. From the demand letter. I've asked the Boston Globe to report this story on quite a number of occasions. You obviously, the name rings a bell. You've received emails from me, at least one recently. I want the Boston Globe to report the story, and I'm obviously getting, quite frankly, a little disappointed, to say the least, that the Boston Globe... Excuse me, hang on 1 minute. First of all, you never did that. Who's this reporter? Patty Wen, that's the new editor of the Spotlight group, I believe? Okay, well, first of all, you never at any time... well, whatever, but the point being is at no time did you ever even get back to me, so you didn't do that. You might have done what you said, i.e. you might have had a reporter look into the story, but you never at any time got back to me and told me that. This is first I've heard of it. Now here's the story. It's a local story because the Unitarian Universalist Association is based in Boston. It's a Boston-based religious community, and quite frankly, the sexual abuse stories that I blogged about, which they are falsely accusing me of blasphemous libel for, were stories that took place in Massachusetts. I'd say that's a Boston Globe story. Yes, I'd like to know why the story's not right for you, yes. Lisa Wagsness, yes. Yeah, she was your religion columnist, yeah. This is your religion columnist saying there's no smoking gun. Right. Okay. Well, I'd say the center of gravity is there. The center of gravity is... Yeah, I'll let you finish, yeah. Well, no, I'm actually not going to have to take no for an answer. There are things that I can do. I'm absolutely not taking no for an answer. I remind you one more time. The Unitarian Universalist Association is based in Boston, and it is the organization that falsely accused me of blasphemous libel and clergy sex abuse, cover-up and denial, legal bullying that seeks to hide, one more time, such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. That's a fact. You say facts. You say, well, because you haven't looked into it. If you say you have no idea that I was falsely accused, it's because you haven't bothered to properly look into it. If you properly looked into this, you would know that I was falsely accused. You do not know what is true or not true in this because you haven't looked into what's true or is not true in this not so complicated thing. Yeah, right. Tell me another story. I cannot order you to do anything, but I can damn well complain about your failure and refusal to report this story. Is there, by the way, in Montreal we have what's called the Press Council, where we can complain about a newspaper misrepresenting something or falsely representing something or not reporting a story. Is there something similar in the Boston area? Not to your knowledge, okay. Right. Well, you haven't false reported. Some things you haven't reported anything at all, but you can, yeah. But what I'm getting at is you've not reported anything at all. What this story is very much identical in principle to what happened in the Spotlight movie story. The only difference is that it's a smaller religious community with less pedophiles and rapists, but it's the same thing. They are misusing Canada's blasphemy law in legaling in an effort to silence me. You can easily look into whether or not that legal bullying is valid or not. And just the fact that I have not been charged ought to tell you that it was complete bullshit. The fact of the matter is, well, for one reason, I could tell you why the Canadian papers haven't done it. Sue Montgomery, who's the justice reporter for the Gazette, or was also a member of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. So she refused to report the story herself. And I do believe she wielded her influence not only within the Gazette, but I believe in the broader Montreal journalistic community to make sure that it was not reported, certainly in the Gazette and so far in other publications. But the fact of the matter is I'm working again on getting some Montreal media coverage. There's some reasons that make this story topical right now. Not the least of them being that Sue Montgomery wants to run for mayor of Montreal Borough, so I think that lack of integrity is of newsworthy. I think Montreal newspapers might want to talk about that. But one more time, as I said, the Unitarian Universalist Association is based in Boston. You know, the people responsible for this misuse of Canada's blasphemy law were working out of Boston. The cases of sexual abuse, specifically pedophilia and or rape, committed by, you might remember the guy, do you remember a guy by the name of Mac Wallace Mitchell? You're really not? Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, well, I'm really going to write a blog post about the fact that you're not going to run the story. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Yeah, see you later. So that was Christine Chinlund. I actually got through to her. And she gave me these bullshit excuses for not running the story. She basically said, oh, well, it's not local, it's got nothing to do with Boston, which is completely untrue. You know, she said that a reporter looked into the story. She initially thought it was Patricia Wen, who is the new editor of the Spotlight group. But in fact, no, it was Lisa Wagsness. I did approach Lisa Wagsness, as I've said many times. And she did look into it, and we actually had some, I think at least 2 phone conversations, went into some detail about it, and you know, she may have in her mind decided that it wasn't newsworthy, but you know, she's a religion columnist, she's not an investigative reporter or anything, so her assessment of the story is quite frankly open to considerable question, but no, this is just excuse after excuse after excuse, and this is clear, absolute refusal to report this story on the part of Christine Chinlund, who's the managing editor of the Boston Globe, and I do believe that she's basically feeding me a line of you know what, because there's, you know, anyone who bothers to look into this can see that the parallels with the Spotlight movie story in terms of the Roman Catholic Church seeking to hide clergy sexual abuse are very, very similar. This is the highest levels of a Boston-based religious community, the Unitarian Universalist Association, engaging in legal bullying that seeks to cover up and hide pedophilia and rape, and the pedophilia and rape that it's seeking to cover up and hide is pedophilia and rape that took place in the Boston area, certainly in Massachusetts, and essentially in towns that are not far from Boston. So there's a very local aspect to this, and yet she is pretending that there's no local aspect to this. Essentially, she doesn't want Boston citizens, Boston residents, and Massachusetts citizens to know about the fact that the Unitarian Universalist religious community goes to such immoral, such unethical, such borderline criminal, and quite frankly, such batshit crazy lengths to cover up and hide pedophilia and rape. Which means that she basically doesn't care that the Unitarian Universalist religious community, which certainly has many churches in the Massachusetts state and New England area, that's a thick concentration of Unitarian Universalist congregations. She doesn't care that they conceal pedophilia and rape, that this to her is not newsworthy. This is quite frankly pathetic, and that's it for now.